Today's video reflection is gonna be weird, but bear with me because I had a great fun in writing it, and I think it can be of use to you. And it is about the Pokemon games and how we can use the philosophy of the Pokemon games. What made, in my opinion, the Pokemon games uh, so good into our creative life and our creative, intellectual, artistic life, as you wanted to call it. And so I basically, long story short, I saw that there is a app in which you can play the old version of Pokemon in an online interactive way, and I found it really cool. And so I downloaded it and I started to play for fun, not just to have some playful time in my day, but also to substitute that with whatever kind of downtime, scrolling or whatever mindless use on my phone I usually do to get me some dopamine in between my work. And so it was really fun, and I realized that um, basically the Pokemon games are not that good of a game. Like, there is not really anything special about them. Like, they're really slow. They are repetitive. Um, they are not really aesthetically appealing if you compare with the, of course, the older version, like 2000 or something. But still, like, they're not really, action packed or whatever modern video games, as modern video games are. And so I wonder, why is this kind of game still, you know I still look at this game as, with of like, we love, in a way, like, I love Pokemon. I always loved Pokemon, and I'm 26 years old now, and I probably started playing them when I was, like, I don't know, 5 or 6. So how is that possible, right? And so I start to reflect on that longhand, as I usually do, on my journal. And what I identify two key things. The first one is the component of the, basically, Pokemon start as a underdog story, in which you start with a low level Pokemon, and the goal of the game is to get him better and better, and to train him and to become stronger, and to catch them all, and all that. The first one. And the second component is the cultivating aspect of your team of Pokemon. So if I had to describe this game to someone who had never played before, maybe younger than me, I say, and if this person would ask me why you love it so much, I will say that the first thing I will say is that I find really pleasurable to cultivate my team of Pokemon, and to see them evolving and become stronger and adopting different strategies and tactics and so on and so forth. And so those two components together makes the game what it is, I think. And the point, like, what I think is so good is that I found a really a really cool analogy about the creative life, the creative endeavor, the intellectual life I'm leading right now. And with the books I read, with the essay I write, with the video I record, and so on, which is this. If you think about when you start the game in Pokemon, okay, um, the protagonist has to go out into the world with and cultivate his team, right? So I thought about this as a creator, intellectual stimulated person who, and as the protagonist, and Pokemon as the ideas. So if you think about Pokemon as ideas for the creative person, it makes a lot of sense and is actually a beautiful philosophical reflection, if you bear with me, because in the same way, with the same pleasure that I found over the years when I was a child in tendering, cultivating, train, and uh, my Pokemon and see them evolve in the same way. Right now, um, I found great pleasure and fun in cultivating the ideas I share with you in this kind of videos, that I write in my journal for myself, or that I encounter in books, or whatever. And I find a great pleasure in make them mine, so adding them to my team, okay, and take it with me as part of who I am. But another great thing is that those ideas, those philosophy, those way of seeing the world are not um, fixed, you know. They're not fixed. Actually, the pleasure is in combining them and see them evolving as a Pokemon, if you want. Um, and how you do that? You do that by going out into the world, as the protagonist of the game does, and uh, encountering people, speaking with dwellers of the towns that you see, the um, and or other Pokemon trainers, which you have a battle with, and the experience, thanks to the experience you gain from the battle, your Pokemon gets stronger, increase the level, and they evolve, eventually. The same way, if you want to think in, if you want to think that way, um, in the same way, we can think of battles as arguments. You argue with people, and if it's a constructive argument, and the only way to have a constructive argument, I think, is when both sides of the argument are willing to change their mind, and to, as Derek Siever once said, I I don't like to have argue. Like he said, I don't like to argue, but when I do, I hope to lose it, because in this way you can learn. In this way you can get better. You can absorb from others. So the goal is always to kind of lose the battle, which is not really the point of the game at all. But you know what I mean. And so through the experience of these arguments with people that you encounter, you confront your set of ideas up to that point, which you can say are your Pokemon up to that point, and you confront it with them, and eventually you grow as a result. And so I saw, like, I keep digging into this idea, and if we think about Pokemon as ideas, then isn't the goal at the beginning of the game uh, of becoming the best Pokemon trainer and completing the Pokédex? Isn't that a way to say um, that the goal is to, encounter as many as different ideas as you can, and become um, as wise as you possibly can as a result? So isn't the goal of catching Pokemon, encountering them, collecting them, tender them, and 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 make them, train them to become stronger, a way to say, I want to, it is the impossible ever ending goal of wisdom, right? To become the better version of yourself, a more deep, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally uh, intelligent person and sensible person. And Mm, and so yeah, this I just thought about this, and so if we think this way, then you, I would like to approach my creative life um, from now on in this way. So like an adventure, I go out in the world, I encounter people, or I speak with you online, I confront my ideas with you, and I grow as a person as a result. And the ultimate goal, the never ending, impossible goal, is to acquire this so called wisdom. And which, is the goal of, eventually, of the trainer, the Pokemon trainer, to catch them all, right? um, so in the same way, uh, as the protagonist at the beginning of the game, where you're in your little room without a Pokemon, and you get out in the world, you say bye to your mom, you leave your comfort zone, your little town, and you get out and you follow your dream, your adventure, and you grow your Pokemon as a result of that. In the same way, having a creative endeavor, pursuit, challenge, can be a way to, make you excited to wake up in the morning, to get out into the world, to share things online, so to, you know to see what will happen. It's just an intellectual adventure, the same way. I could even go further and say, like, the professor is like the master who inspired the young, but then has to let him fail and get out and not interfere. I can continue on this way, but um, yeah, I just wanted to do a short video reflection and share it with you, this, because it was really fun, and I thought it could be of some use to you. Anyways, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for all the comments and all the new subscriber to my channel. I'm having a really blast to listen to all your comments and your positivity and constructive critics. I love you all, guys. So thank you so much for being here. Um, yeah, that's it. Have a good one, and see you next week.